Welcome in, everyone, to our Cracked Racquets coverage of the 2022 USTA SoCal Pro Circuit. Alex Gruskin here for Championship Sunday on our broadcast. We've got our men's and women's singles finals, two fantastic matches for us to dive into over the course of the next 3, 4, maybe even 5 hours. And of course, joining us on our broadcast to help us do just that, to provide the expertise that only a top 100 ATP player, former NCAA singles champion can once again, is our friend Bradley Klon. BK, good Sunday morning to you, my friend. You excited for some Championship Sunday?
We had a great first championship. We get to call a couple more. I'm excited to join you again.
Yeah, it's always a good thing when the Wimbledon men's singles final is your warm-up act, right? It's a good thing to get the spirits flowing, the juices moving here on a Sunday. And of course, that is where we want to start today's broadcast. We'll get into our singles finals. We'll start with the men's side here today at about 1:08 Eastern time. We'll have Zachary Svida, Sekou Bangura on court. Of course, we'll get into Yayi Yang versus Mckenna Jones in our women's singles final a bit later as well. But since I have you here, let's talk a little bit about today's men's singles final. Ultimately, it was Novak Djokovic capturing a 4-set victory. He becomes the first guy, I believe, in the Open era and since the 1940s to lose his opening set in the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals before ultimately earning a Wimbledon title. Becomes the 4th guy in the Open era to win 4 straight Wimbledons. Again, 21st major, first for him on this season. Your reaction to another Djokovic victory at Wimbledon?
Yeah, it's impressive is putting it mildly. Just his resilience, all that he's gone through at the beginning of the year. It's widely known about everything that happened in Australia. And you saw him talk about it after the match, just how relieved he was to get over the hump, win this Wimbledon final, get that 21st Grand Slam. But we've seen time and time again his ability to come back from a set down, 2 sets down against Jannik Sinner, and I think he even spoke about it after the match where he said Jannik had everything or nothing to lose coming into the match, everything to lose 2 sets up. It's just becoming the standard for Novak. Just he has that belief, that confidence in his ability. There you can see the calmness when he gets down a set or 2 sets. So just an incredible effort from him, especially up against Nick, who's so widely talented. We've all seen that on display. We know that he has the level to push these top guys. He was 2-0 against Djokovic coming into this match, and he's such a tricky opponent to play with his rhythm, his ability to change speeds on the serve, just his serve in general, one of the best out there, if not the hardest to read. So just it was an exciting match. It had it all.
No, it was incredible. And to your point, Kyrgios played well enough to win this match. Ultimately, again, a 4-6, 6-3, 6-4, 7-6 win for Novak. I mean, it starts with, obviously, for Nick in particular, but anyone against Novak Djokovic, you have to protect your serve. You have to find a way to do things easily. Nick hit 30 aces in this match. He made 73% of his first serve, 62 winners against 33 unforced errors. You're beating any other player on the ATP tour, but against Novak Djokovic, who hits 46 winners against 17 unforced errors, he knew the job, and it took him a second. First set, Nick came out hitting big, taking his chances as a returner. I also thought from a physicality perspective, Nick was locked in. He was willing to grind, willing to play those 10, 15 shot rallies, trying to force Djokovic to manufacture some pace on the backhand wing. But I mean, like, that's just such a stupid thing to say out loud. Like, you challenge the Djokovic backhand to make him beat you from that side. Okay, he's going to do it. And, ultimately it got a little sketchy at the end of the match for Novak, but he was able to get over the finish line in 4. And the thing I continue to turn to, he's now 78-12, BK, since the start of the 2021 season. He's 35 years old, and his career averages right now, or his statistical averages right now, are all better than his career averages. He's holding 86% of the time, or 86.5, excuse me, since the start of 2021. His career average is 85.8. He's breaking serve just a ridiculous 33.5% of the time. His career average is 32.1. It's like, again, our eyes may say it's a post-prime Novak Djokovic. It's not. It's a prime Djokovic. It's ridiculous.
You see it time and time again with these top guys, their relentless ability to improve. We've seen it with Nadal. We saw it with Federer when he went out for a little bit. These guys have this insatiable appetite for improvement. They always want more. There's always something else. There's another goal to achieve. We heard Nick in the post-match press conference start to question, like, is this, you know, are we going to see him in another Grand Slam final? He didn't seem that sure. He was exhausted from the final. Like, not that that's all that he wants to do, but that you could see the effort that he had to make to get to that final. Now imagine Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, time and time and time again, just that ability to continue coming back to the well. I mean, when you win one, we saw it with Thiem, what happened after he won the US Open, and he spoke about just the struggles of you've worked so hard to get to that point and you finally achieve it. And then now what? So for these guys, for the Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, to continue doing that is just, it's remarkable.
Yeah. You know, it was really funny on the post-match broadcast. They were talking about Nick's comments after the match, and you know, Chris Fowler made a joke. What's harder than doing it once? How about 21 times, like Novak has? And it's like, yeah, that's really freaking difficult. 21 titles in 68 total majors. Like, again, a third of his majors he's played in his career, 1 out of every 3 he's won. It's just, it's laughable, the degree of success he has had. And to your point about the improvement, he's a spot server now. Like, there's a little serve bot to Novak, and just how relentlessly he attacks the out wide on the do side. And I'm going to use a BKism, how well he uses that serve to spread the court with the +1. It's just like, to your point, he has gotten better. I can't believe it, but he's gotten better, or just like more efficient.
Right. You can see it just each year. There's always something that's improving. And I mean, he's so dominant at Wimbledon at 4 straight, and you could see how much you could see the relief that he had in winning it. And I was trying to compare some of those reactions to past Wimbledon finals, and obviously everything that he's gone through at the beginning of the year, the relief to get through that Wimbledon match, just the relief of not having to play a 5th set against Nick, who he knows how challenging the opponent is. And let's give a lot of credit to Nick. I was really interested to see how he handled the moment. You know, this is the biggest moment that he's ever played for. And, you know, he was actually into it, and you know, we don't always see that. And I was just curious to see how he handled like a match that for him like really mattered to him. And he was there. He came out, he's competed really well, he stuck in it. Even, you know, he was barking at the box, and he was upset he had that 40-love lead at 4-all in the third, that really losing that really cost him, put him in a 2-1 deficit. But he bounced back. He played well. He gave himself chances. He gave Novak a chance to get tight a little bit. But in that tiebreaker, you could see kind of the experience, and Novak just raised it up a gear. Nick had to he was continuing to go for the serve. You know, he went for it double fault early on, and it kind of set the tone for the tiebreaker.
Perfectly put. And I think you nailed it. He blinked once. You know, Novak, after dropping the first set, you knew Novak was going to get an early break. That's just what Novak Djokovic does. And I love when Novak goes into floating mode, where it's just like, yeah, I'm going to make everything. Just to be clear, for the next hour, I'm not going to miss. And credit to you if you can come up with magic, but the message was sent. You know, it's that time. Novak went into brick wall mode. And you're right. He played 5 sloppy points from 40-love up, 4-all in that third set. You can't do that. And ultimately, that's probably the difference in this match. That said, to your point, even with the barking at the box, it didn't impact his play. It didn't impact his execution on serve. And even more entertaining to me than the mental war in this match was the chess match tactically that this was. Nick's willingness to grind in the first 2 sets. And then you see sets 3, sets 4, that's not going to work. And he starts charging forward more frequently, just putting some sort of pressure on Novak, whether it's with the first serve or just approaching whenever he could. And ultimately, Nick, 19 of 34 at the net. That's about as good as you can do against Novak Djokovic. You're right. Nick threw everything he had, the kitchen sink at Novak. But yeah, it's just like Novak's going to Novak. And 4 consecutive Wimbledon titles for him. It's hilarious that, you know, again, looking at his season, he started off slow, of course, after not playing in Australia, but, wins the Masters title before the French Open, loses to Rafa 4 sets at the French Open, now wins Wimbledon. It's amazing that this season might have been considered a failure for Novak Djokovic had he not captured a slam title. But it's like, again, as big a moment as this was for Kyrgios, Novak kind of needed this, right? Given he might not play New York.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's talked about the importance of, he's been going for that slam, the records in slams. And now all of a sudden he only is able to play half of the slams. We'll see what happens in New York. Obviously now as it stands, he's not able to, but yeah, this was a big one for him.
Yeah, it was delightful to watch. And, again, certainly 4-set victory for Novak. We'll talk about that more. We'll talk about Elena Rybakina in the winner's circle as well throughout the week here at Cracked Racquets. But with all of that said, time to shift our coverage here and focus on the action at hand. Again, that was the appetizer. It's time now for the main course, and that main course, of course, is our 2022 SoCal Pro Circuit action. It's week 5 of this series of events, of course, providing playing opportunities to the countless aspiring juniors, the countless collegiate players, young pros early in their career trying to make that breakthrough at the ATP level. Of course, we all enjoy the action at the slams, but to get there, you got to grind, win on the ITF level, the challenger level before you earn those opportunities on the pro circuit. Certainly, we get to see some players today who have worked towards those opportunities, who continue to ascend in their career or are working to solidify a spot at the top of the rankings. And with that in mind, again, we've got our matchup on hand for you, waiting for our players to walk to court now, but we can talk more broadly here as we look at our first matchup. It's going to be top-seeded 19-year-old Zach Svajda, who got tested yesterday. 3-set victory for him ultimately against Sakaguchi, but for Svajda, he's won 8 consecutive decisions, 9 matches in a row. He won the title last week in Rancho Santa Fe. Now, again, playing what is that 8th match in 12 days. He's going to take on a veteran's veteran in Sekou Bangura. The 30-year-old Bangura has slipped in the rankings down to 592 off his career high of 213, but has worked his way back and is competing in a second pro final this season. It's the 18th professional final for Bangura in his career. As we look at this match, let's talk big picture. Let's start with Svajda. Second consecutive final for him. What do you expect to see from the 19-year-old today?
I want to see how he handles coming off a title last week, playing all these matches. He's got through 4. You mentioned a little bit of the sloppy first set yesterday, but responded very nicely, losing 1 game in the final 2 sets. He's 1 match away from another title. How's he going to handle this moment after struggling at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, no, I mean, for Svajda yesterday was a slow start for him, was broken twice in that opening set. But what's so impressive about the 19-year-old, even at this stage of his career, he has a cruise control gear. And to compare any 19-year-old to Novak Djokovic would be absurd. But at this level, it just looked like Sakaguchi, or if you watched Farron earlier in the week, you watched his win over Brandon Holt last week. It seems very difficult to hurt Zach Svajda or find easy ways to attack him. A very solid all-around game.
Yeah, he moves well. He's very clean off both sides. We've seen the talent on display through his early career, winning Kalamazoo twice. We've seen flashes of it at the U.S. Open, losing in 5 sets. His first U.S. Open appearance of Paolo Lorenzi, and then beating Chetinato first round in his second appearance. So he's shown that upside, but now it's can he put it together week in, week out, and work his way up the rankings?
No, well said. And certainly we featured this in our trivia yesterday, and we'll have more trivia for all of you tuning in throughout the course of today's finals. There have been 3 players in the 21st century to win back-to-back Kalamazoo titles. Kalamazoo, the boys 18s U.S. National Championships, the winner of Kalamazoo ultimately getting a U.S. Open main draw wild card. Those 3 two-time champions of the 21st century, Zach Svajda, Jack Sock, and Donald Young. Now, obviously, Sock, Young both went on to be top 100 players. For Jack Sock, a top 10 player with Grand Slam doubles titles and a Paris Masters singles title as well. Now, again, not to say it's a guarantee, of future success, but that's the pedigree Svajda carries into this match. And certainly, again, Svajda, having won last week's title, has momentum on his side going into today's final. But as I mentioned, it's a tough test for him. Another guy, not a lot of weaknesses in the game of 30-year-old Sekou Bangura. Bangura really played 15 bad minutes of tennis yesterday. Was up 5-3 in the first set on Nate Ponwith. Ponwith taking 4 straight games to take it 7-5 in the first. From there, it was all Sekou Bangura, 6-1, 6-4 over the next 2 sets. That, again, first set to Ponwith, the only set he's dropped here this week. And certainly for Bangura, you look for him in the 2022 season. He's a guy who's had a ton of success now, 21-8 overall on the year as he works his way back up the rankings. If again, for those who haven't seen Sekou Bangura play much, what should they expect from him today?
Sekou, again, another great mover, very fluid out there. I'm looking for him he has the raw pace. He likes to play on cruise control a little bit, keep it in second and third gear, rely on his great hands and that athleticism. Against Svajda, he's going to have to take his chances a little bit more. Go after that first serve. He'll spin it in. He's got a good kick. He's able to spread the court a little bit. Hopefully for him, if he's able to get Svajda up and out high on his backhand on that ad side, look for the forehand inside in and just start to attack from there. But he's going to have to play a little bit more aggressive than we've seen in the previous matches.
This is a match that feels like there's a lot of cruise control, and I'm going to ask super producer Daniel Westoff to bring up our sponsors page now on the screen, because certainly with Wimbledon, we have the IBM Watson keys to the match. We're going to go with the Crable Capital Management keys to the match here, and we'll start on the Svajda side. What does a Zach Svajda win look like today?
It's going to start with Svajda's backhand down the line. We've seen that. We saw that in the final last week against Holt. That's his moneymaker. I'm looking for him. He's done a really good job the last 2 weeks of playing within himself. Like we saw yesterday, Sakaguchi didn't really have anything to hurt him. He's been tough to put on defense here. So he's got to use that to his strengths, play within himself, wait for his opportunities.
Yeah, no, certainly. And then on the flip side, we'll go with our Klieg response of the day from Sekou Bangura. What does he do to take those things away?
I'm looking for Sekou to use his hands effectively, take time away. We know Svajda can take time away, especially on that backhand side. Sekou's got to move forward, cut the angles, play aggressively, and look to finish the points at the net.
Yeah, no, you look again, Sekou Bangura, it's his 18th pro final, 4th of the season for him. Bangura winning titles earlier this year in Sunrise in Vero Beach, Florida. 3rd pro final for Zach Svajda, and yet Svajda nursing a top 400 ranking right now. That's sort of the vomit zone, right, BK? You're not sure, should I be playing ITF? Should I be playing Challengers? Certainly top 250, you'll get into the Challengers, you'll get into the Slam qualifying. For Svajda to make this decision, stay home, play SoCal Pro Circuit events. It's paid dividends thus far, 9 consecutive wins for him. He'll take the points, but of course, those elusive championship points always the most valuable here at the ITF level. And as we see on court behind our sponsors now, both players warming up those volleys, warming up the overheads, of course. I'm always curious, how does a player actually think about this warm-up? Are you feeling out your opponent? Are you doing the quick scout? Or at this point, do you know everything you need to know going into the match?
At this point, you're more, one, for your own sake, getting the feet warm, getting the eyes warmed up as well. You need to start tracking the ball visually off the opponent's racket, just getting a little feel for the pace that's going to be coming. It's not going to be the same as in the match. Both players are just getting their bodies warmed up. But like I said, I think the biggest thing is just adjusting those eyes to the ball, starting to get that kind of, we call the V movement in and out of the court, just trying to be proactive.
True or false? Pros at every level of the professional game, when you're warming up serve, you'll say, hey, slice wide. Hey, I'm going body here. Like, you give a little verbal cue to your returner, because I watched some pros do that. And it made me realize, oh my God, these guys really are so good that they're going to be like, hey, I'm warming up the slice wide. Just be ready for that specifically. But is that a courteous thing? Is that real?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I guess I'm thinking more in terms of practice. You're generally letting guys know. You'll see a lot of, especially with ball kids on court, you'll see a lot of players serving cross like we're not seeing here, where they're both kind of serving to each other. So in that particular instance, yeah, you give a little nudge. Hey, I'm going to go wide, T. Just, everyone's got their patterns where they start wide, do that, then T. But just a little courtesy to let everyone know. You can see nobody's practicing returns, really.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. That's like one of those unwritten baseball rules that, for so many different things in tennis, that's one of them. It's like, hey, when you get this good, you say, by the way, I'm going wide here. Like, just be ready for it. And so, at the local level, it's like, hey, if I shank this 3 courts down, just be ready to run. So no, you'd love to see, again, that sort of courtesy. And again, our finals here in Fountain Valley today. We're going back to back, so we'll have the opportunity to lock in on each of these matches. It's Svida Bangura to kick things off. Then we get 2 familiar faces on this SoCal Pro Circuit. It's going to be Mckenna Jones, who won her first ITF Pro Circuit title a few weeks ago in San Diego. She going to be taking on Yang, who is making a second finals appearance here on the SoCal Pro Circuit, but was, of course, our doubles champion on yesterday's broadcast. For now, we see final serves underway. Svida on the near side of your screen. Again, it should be a very solid match. You don't see any definitive advantages for either of these players, really. If we were to have our check mark boxes, it'd probably be 3 checks across the board for each. Maybe Bangura, the better volleyer.
Yeah, I would say Bangura is more comfortable moving forward. We've seen it in doubles, making the finals here yesterday. Svida, I'd give him the slight edge on the backhand. I think that's, the backhand for Svida is his best shot. Both, I'd say, a little bit more solid on the backhand side. We'll see a few more airs from each on the forehand, just that ability to go for it, but watch for both to pull off.
I was joking around with a buddy of mine yesterday. It's amazing when Nick Kyrgios plays in a final, how many friends will call you out of the blue. I had some buddies from college I hadn't spoken to since I moved out of a house living with them my sophomore year. 2 a.m. they called me last night, and I was like, oh, are you in prison? And I'm the A in your contact that you're like, hey, I got to call this guy first. And it's like, no, I'm curious about Kyrgios, what you think his matchup against Djokovic is going to be. I was like, oh, all right, you're a follower. I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't know what the point of that story was going to be, but the point is we certainly, I know what it is. Full circle here. Svida, in terms of his backhand, I was joking around with them saying, hey, come watch this stream. I was like, Djokovic, Zverev, Svida. Like, that's the backhand ascending order of tiers. You've got the Djokovic tier, the Zverev tier, and the Svida tier of backhand. That's the sort of special ball striking ability Svida can have on that wing. And again, 3rd pro final for 19-year-old Zach Svida, 18th for the 30-year-old Sekou Bangura. Say those 4 fantastic words now, folks. Let's play some tennis. That's the sort of tennis we're getting in today. Buckle up, folks. Grab your snacks now. For Zachary Svida yesterday. Again, a 3-set victory for him over the 5th-seeded Sakaguchi. Got off to a similarly slow start on serve. First serve percentage proceeded to get better throughout the match. That's one of the things I wonder, does he focus on today from the start, BK? You saw a good first serve +1 action there.
Yeah, yesterday we saw Zvida get up the early break 3-1, seemingly on cruise control, and then lost a little focus in the next two service games. So that's what I'm definitely looking for from him today. It's just, can he take care of his serve, get ahead in the games early, and just try and relieve some of that pressure on the serve.
It's a nice start for Zachary Svida. Holds at 15 to get us going for One Love. Of course, you can see a top corner of your screen. A huge thank you to our sponsors across the board, whether it be the Klieg family, Crabels, Wilson, Southern California Tennis Foundation Association, Bryan Brothers as well. We're also going to have trivia for all of you tuning into the chat. That trivia, what are you competing for, you ask? The opportunity for a 30-minute virtual tutorial about all things in your tennis game from Grand Slam winning coach, former Grand Slam winning player as well, Paul Annacone. Throw that first trivia question up on the board now, super producer Daniel Westoff.
Two really good points from Bangura on his serve to start this match. Exactly what I'm looking for from him. Uses a good first serve, immediately looking to find that forehand and open the court.
Stepping into the ball early. Absolutely. I don't remember seeing him do that more than a handful of times yesterday against Ponwith.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you recognize as well when you're playing a guy like Zach Svida, where you need to play a little bit more aggressive. Yesterday at the match, he could rely on the movement a little bit more. Today, he recognizes that he's going to have to go after the forehand if he wants to have success later in the match.
There you say, maybe that one, I mean, no such thing as a good miss, but that's the miss you want to see there, that forehand.
Yeah, there's definitely, there's good misses and bad misses. And you want to look for him to attack, and if he's missing the ball going for the right shot, that's just execution.
The double fault, always a tough miss, as we see there. Early one, first of the match for Bangura. Still another game point here, 40-30. Good serving. Start the match from both of our finalists. Bangura holding for 1-all. Of course, you see new trivia question on your screen. The way you can answer that trivia question, tweet at us at Crack Racquets, at Bradley Klon, at AL Gruskin. Whoever earns the most correct trivia answers, again, going to win that 30-minute virtual lesson from Paul Annacone. A huge thank you to Coach for his contributions to the circuit. Question we have for all of you: 8 American men reached at least the third round of the 2022 Wimbledon. When was the last time that many American men reached round 3 at the year's third Grand Slam? My hint for all of you: think golden era of men's tennis. That's my hint.
I like that move from Bangura there. I think he's going to have to utilize that play more and more to apply some pressure to the Zvida second serve in particular. I know he missed it there, but those are the kind of inroads you're looking to make early in a match. Get them thinking.
What a combination of forehands there from Zach Svida in the outer thirds. That's the fluidity you were talking about, BK.
Yeah, you can see just the effortless movement from Zvida. Excellent depth there on the forehand.
Return sails long. So it's Svida. 2-1 lead on serve here. Quick pace to start our men's singles final. Again, you see it on the board. Trivia question for the chance to win a free virtual lesson from Paul Anacone. All you got to do, tweet at us at Cracked Racquets, at AL Gruskin, at Bradley Klon. The last time 8 American men or more reached the third round of Wimbledon prior to this season. Of course, we'll have more trivia for you throughout the course of today's Championship Sundays. We want to hear from all of you. What are you doing on this Sunday? Certainly, it's been a long 2 weeks of tennis for all of us following the action at Wimbledon. I am excited to not have a 6 a.m. alarm set on my phone for at least 4 days, something like that. Still plenty of fun action to come. Of course, the North American Hardcourt Summer on the horizon. Another week to go here in the SoCal Pro Circuit as well. We'll be back next weekend with our continued coverage. Perhaps we'll see Zach Svida again.
Just talking to Zach Svida's coach at the moment, Rick Bukta. Svida's also been training out of the USTA facility in Carson with David Nankin. As we see that excellent ability to cut the court off. He was telling me that Zvida was supposed to go play the Challenger in Rome and going to make that transition over to the Challenger circuit for the rest of the summer. But after 2 long weeks of tennis here, earned himself a week off and would love to go into that week off with the back-to-back titles.
Boy, when it looks good, it looks very good from the 19-year-old Zach Svida. In control, opens up the love 30. And this was a topic we discussed yesterday, BK, but that idea of chasing momentum, chasing success, regardless of what happens today. You go 9-1 over a 2-tournament stretch, you're feeling good about your level. Nice sequence of forehands from Bangura there for 15-30. How difficult is that choice to make? You know, again, do I play a third week? Do I instead elect to rest my body? What goes into that decision?
You definitely need to listen to your body, but after 10 matches in 2 weeks, that's a lot of wear and tear on the body. Getting on a plane, immediately traveling across the country, also a level up in competition, moving from the futures to the challengers. I think it's the right choice to lay off, let yourself reset, take a day off, start working on a few things that you still need to clean up from these couple weeks. Yes, he's had a lot of success at this futures level, but there's still a lot of room for improvement with Svida.
I'm pretty sure the Rome Challenger, the one you're referring to happening in Rome, Georgia, it's indoors as well, right?
It is, which is also, that's not it's a transition for sure. It's something to keep in mind.
So you Californians are just, I don't understand that. Indoors to outdoors is a tough transition. Outdoors to indoors is a breeze for us here in the Midwest right now.
We grew up playing outside, though. A rainy day was an off day.
Yeah. Quitters.
10 times a year, so.
Yeah. The second serve here on a first break point chance for Svajda. That's been the ball for Bangura, and it feels like that ball may dictate this match, BK.
I like the way he's really looking to get around the backhand, find the forehand. We've seen multiple inside-in winners to start this match, only in his second service game, and already looking to establish that play. Pushing Svajda to the backhand, opening up that forehand a little bit more.
Into that forehand is Bangura. Of course, Bangura only 592 in the ATP rankings. Reached that career high 213 back in October of 2016. Svajda sails long. Bangura gets out of the game with the hold for 2-all.
You're seeing early on here, Bangura looking to attack that Svajda forehand. I like his ability to play aggressive. We talked about it earlier in the broadcast, but he's showing a little bit more offense than we've seen in previous matches, recognizing the importance of not letting Svajda get comfortable and locked in on the baseline.
Couple of backhand errors consecutively for Zach Svajda. You feel like you just saw Haley's Comet, perhaps out there on the court. Does not happen frequently. Ooh.
Really smart change of play from Svajda. We saw that a little bit yesterday. Electing to take the pace off, give it some air. That's a really difficult shot on the backhand side. Landing that high topspin short, forcing Bangura to cut at an angle in. Get it before it gets above the shoulders.
And I'll tell you what, in slow motion, that point was even sexier. You get to see just how explosive Bangura is. He was moving at regular speed. The rest of us weren't. Cuts off that ball so easily. 15-30. You just had a break point if you're Svajda. Does that linger?
That approach from Svajda. Good way to back that up with a strong serve up the tee, attacking the weaker Bangura forehand. But tell you why I don't like it. He really opens the court and gives Bangura a lot of room on that running forehand instead of keeping the approach in front of him. You see the inexperience with Svajda in the approach game in that decision.
Just floats that one a little wide. So an early break point chance for Bangura opportunity here. Always funny how that happens. You have the break point chances the game before. You let them get away from you. First point backhand error. Shots from Bangura now 30-40. All right.
That's how you want to erase a break point.
Yeah, not too shabby. Spider-Man bringing out the weapons.
like that court position from Zviad a little bit better. You saw earlier in the game, it's almost out of our screen, starting to impose his will a little bit more on that serve. +1, holding the baseline, using that good diagonal up to the forehand.
Bingor goes big, but goes wide. Svida responding with a tough hold of his own 4-3-2. Both players now having faced break points on serve. And again, Alex Gruskin, Bradley Klahn, thrilled to be joined by any of you here on this Sunday afternoon. A little bonus tennis after, of course, the Wimbledon main event earlier today. And the good news, still got another week of this SoCal Pro Circuit. Week 6 continuing next week at Lakewood. Of course, always great. You go Kramer Club, Los Cab here this week, Lakewood next week, hitting all the staples of the LA tennis area. So great to see these Pro Circuit events being provided. We'll, of course, continue our coverage next weekend, Saturday, Sunday, with our semifinals onward, coverage of singles, doubles championships on Saturday as well. Did you think tennis stopped after the majors? No, 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 my friends. It's a 60-week-a-year sport.
Right back in Newport and Bastad on the ATP Tour. Next week, Newport's always one of my favorite stops. Bummed to be missing it this year.
I was still, I'd say once he made the finals, it wasn't going to happen. But going into the semis, 8% chance Kyrgios would have tried to play Newport anyways, just because you can't miss it. You're at the Tennis Hall of Fame. Grass courts.
How much he's played it.
I feel like he's been there a couple of times.
Yeah. It's a tough, you see a lot of the Americans play. It's obviously, it's a difficult transition. You think Wimbledon's the peak of the grass court season, and then no, we'll throw a fast one on you. One more.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a long trip for Europeans to make. Really?
That's tasty.
It's excellent. Trading backhands, waiting for the opponent to be the first one to blink and change line, and Bangor does a great job with the backhand change and then follows that up with the forehand line. But to finish my point earlier on Newport, it's difficult. It's a little bit like a lot of the Americans going over early for Monte Carlo and then having to stay in Europe through the clay court season. Then you make the decision to come back or stay through the grass court season. For the Europeans, you have to make that decision. Do you come over and then stay through New York, or do you come and go back, or do you just start over in Europe?
Plenty of choices, right? I think about, you go Newport, Los Cabos, pop over at the John Isner Open in Atlanta, maybe a little City Open action as well. You're right. It gets off to the races.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what an American for us. We have 2 Americans on screen, but it's power hour for Jensen Brooksby, another California guy. He's got so many points to defend, right, over the next 4 months.
Yeah, and a little bit of a, starting to experience some of those growing pains in the second year on tour. It's not surprising as everything is new, and now you really start to get into your career. But he's done such a good job of figuring things out at the beginning and electing not to play in Newport. Actually take some time after the long clay court season, stayed over on the grass after.
Svida sails long, so 3-all. Bangura keeping pace here. Talk about those growing pains. Again, Zach Svida reached the second round of the U.S. Open last season, was able to have some success on the futures level, play a bunch of challenger matches as well. But for him, he was 3-10 coming into this SoCal Pro Circuit 2-week stretch. Now 11-10, 12-10 if you include the withdrawal after these 2 weeks. Why make this decision, do you think, for Team Svida to come play these 2 futures events when, again, top 400 ranking probably could have played the challengers? We see a little slow motion here.
Yeah, this is
going a little long.
There's only one way. You have to put in the work. You have to do it the hard way, and that's winning matches, building confidence. And it wasn't happening at the challenger level. I think it was really smart to drop down. You're in your home section. Lives in LA now. He's able to play close to home, build up some of that confidence. You're seeing it's paid off well for him. Winning last week, finals again this week. That can start to trickle over. Just you have a little bit more of an aura about you. You walk a little quicker, stand a little bit taller. Now you go to the challengers and you have a little bit more belief in your game when you get in those difficult situations.
A little long on that forehand from Bangura, but it's the mentality we've seen from the start of this match. He is going to go after anything he can strike early in the baseline, BK.
You saw that how early he took that backhand turn early in the game. Again there, not quite connecting on it, but it's that relentless ability to take the second serves inside the baseline.
Little unlucky there. Good track down, though, from Zach Svida.
Yeah, the reason that's so effective for Bangura is you saw it again there, how far in he was on that second serve. It starts to get into Svida's head. I need to do a little bit more with the first serve or make sure that I get enough first serves in that I'm not giving him a look at a second. And then on the second serve starts forcing him to try and do a little bit more than he's comfortable with.
Svida able to find a first serve when he needs it. And to his credit, Svida 16 of 22, making 73% of his first serve so far. That's part of the reason we've yet to see a break of serve in this match. 4-3, Svida man in the lead here. And again, perhaps you're wondering, trivia, why is there trivia on my screen throughout the course of this broadcast? Well, as part of our promotion of this USTA SoCal Pro Circuit, our Cracked Racquets team honored to have the chance to give a giveaway to all of you tuning into the broadcast. Now, all of us who watch tennis, or I like to think most of us, also are playing some tennis in our lives as well. And certainly all of us looking for opportunities, ways we can learn to get better. Well, thankfully, again, as part of his support of this USTA SoCal Pro Circuit, Grand Slam winning coach for Roger Federer, Pete Sampras, of course, a Grand Slam champion himself, Paul Annacone has generously donated a 30-minute virtual lesson to whomever tuning into our feeds can answer the most trivia questions successfully over the next couple of weeks. All you got to do, tweet those trivia question answers to us at Cracked Racquets, at AL Gruskin, at Bradley Klon. Get yourself a chance for a free virtual lesson from Paul Annacone. Could be worse, folks. Could be worse as we see Bangura serving 3-4 here first set. By the way, I mentioned the first serve percentage for Svida at 73%. Bangura, polar opposite so far. 10 of 20, 50% on the first serve so far. Hasn't hurt him yet.
unlucky from Bangora there, but the reason it hasn't hurt him from what I'm seeing so far is you see how far back Svajda is on that second serve. Normally so good at timing the return. He's electing to give himself a lot of time, let the ball come down and give it a full swing, but he's not really pushing Bangora back at all, and Bangora, that is able to get good hits on that first shot.
Okay, Zach Svajda, thank you very much. Backhand ripper again. Djokovic, Zverev, Svajda. Those are the backhand tiers, my friends. But you talk about that return positioning. On that first serve, he took 2 steps forward. On the second serve, he's taken 2 steps back. Why? You see there again, the leap forward.
Get into that after this point. So the reason you do that on the second serve is you give yourself enough time to take a full swing on the shot. You can see the way the trajectory of Bangora's serve is. It's actually on its way down, losing pace by the time it actually reaches Svajda. On the first serve, guys have such big first serves these days. It's more about using your momentum, timing the ball, moving forward.
It's a stark contrast, but it's working. Zach Svajda with the break. He'll serve for the opening set now, 5-3. Do you enjoy the tactic as it's being used today?
So far, I think he could have a little bit more success if he's standing up on the baseline and using the hands and his ability. We've seen it on the first serve there. He's handling the pace of the Bangora serve fine. The only thing is we're not there. We can't get a great read on the court. If Bangora is able to get that out of his strike zone on the second serve with more kick, that's why he dropped back also.
Got it.
I do think Svajda is better on the baseline, though, just from a point perspective. And even if he is going to return from that far back, I'd like to see him gain ground immediately and try and get back up closer to the baseline. And to do that, he's got to hit a really good quality return that pushes Bangora back.
First serve continuing to deliver some free points for Zach Svajda. One of these days we'll get smart and we'll, instead of tracking aces, just track unreturned serves. Obviously the same thing. Same result, I should say. A bunch of unreturned first serves for Zach Svajda here in set 1.
Free points come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, exactly. 30-15, 2 points away. How replicable is that ball? That feels like it's the question for Bangora. When he stepped into that forehand and landed it, particularly attacking that two-side Svajda corner, it's had success. Feels like that's a tough shot to replicate throughout the course of this match.
Yeah, I think Bangor is more comfortable hitting that ball or on the outside, pulling it cross court or inside in. That seems to be the replicable shot. It's how often can he get that ball? How often can he structure the point so he's able to funnel it to his forehand from there and get Svajda off on the backhand side. You saw him go for that shot there. He'd already had Svita pretty far out of the court. Overcooked it a little bit.
That's why we have you in the booth here, BK. You see the effectiveness of that cross-court forehand from Bangura. He's able to turn his shoulders into that ball. Generate some serious sting. One set point fought off. We're at deuce. They come in all shapes and sizes. That one via the forehand return error from Sekou Bangura. Set point number 2 for the Spider-Man.
And just not enough there on the approach. You see just a little bit of that hesitation from Svita. Didn't quite move up with the same authority that we've seen when he cuts those angles at the baseline. And just that moment of hesitation, a little dip in the pace gives Bangura the look.
I'm going to go Yiddish on you for a second. Needs a little more chutzpah. A little more chutzpah behind that shot. That's chutzpah. Down the tee, authority. If you're going to wear a backwards hat, you better be able to do erotic impression. Looked pretty good there. Set point number 3. Or Zach Svita. You hold that. I'm almost done with this set. Been the inside-out forehand. Piled up some errors for Sekou Bangura. That's smooth sailing, though, from top seed Zach Svita. Now 1 set away from a 10th consecutive victory. Back-to-back USTA SoCal Pro Circuit titles. Well, with that said, we've got a quick break in the action. We've mentioned the support we've gotten from so many sponsors throughout this court of the USTA SoCal Pro Series. Want to offer all of you tuning in today a chance to hear from one of those sponsors, Bruce Klieg, about why it was so important to put on this series of 6 pro events in the Southern California area. With that in mind, super producer Daniel Westoff, let's hear from Bruce Klieg. The financial commitment it takes, and, you know, again, being willing to invest in this grassroots level of tennis, why was that so important to you?
Well, again, I didn't want somebody to be 40 years old that went through all the junior programs and practice 3-5 hours a day for their whole life to have to default into teaching and not pursue their dream. This is a way for somebody to pursue their dream, at least have a shot. And I think we've accomplished a lot of that the way it is right now. We'd like to refine it, maybe go into satellite type of event also. But when I look at it today, and I've talked to a lot of the players, they get 1 ticket. That's the San Diego. They can stay here for 4 weeks, and they've got 60 other people to practice with at a very high level, which improves their game tremendously. And they have a shot of playing these tournaments right here, all in one place. A lot of the people have housing with families in this area right here, and we'd like to expand that even more. And that's important because the housing costs you a lot of money, especially in the summertime in San Diego. So the cost is the big thing right here. And I think by having them in the same geographic area, it worked out. Now, I think it was important for us to go up to 6 tournaments instead of just having 3 in San Diego. Because we can include Los Angeles. Now, Los Angeles is only, an hour and a half away from San Diego. It's very easy for people to get from San Diego to there. So now when you think about it, they have 1 ticket to San Diego, 1 ticket back out. And for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, they're in an area with 60 other people to play with and get excellent practice and have an opportunity to pursue their dream. That's what we're doing.
Thank you again to Bruce Klieg, all of the supporters for making this SoCal Pro Circuit happen. You had a good stat for us, BK, about the lack of North American playing opportunities, in particular in the United States, in comparison to our contemporaries in Europe. For a guy like Sekou Bangura here, 30 years old. All there from Svida, but for a guy like Bangura who's been injured, hasn't been able to play the full complement of matches these past couple of years. Obviously, that's an experience you can relate to yourself. How valuable are these playing opportunities here, and to have them in Southern California?
It's so helpful just to have these all in a location you can travel within a couple hours by car. Playing matches is so valuable at this level. You need to gain that experience week in, week out. We've seen the effectiveness that having a lot of tournaments in the country has on that country's players. Italy is the perfect example. We've seen some of the young guys rising up the ranks, not just the Sinner, Musetti, Berrettinis, but some of the other guys in that 80 to 150 range as well. That's what the U.S. needs. Just more playing opportunities, minimizing expenses for these players, especially at the lower levels. That's a huge, huge impact on these guys, just the financial stress.
Strong start for Svida. Keeps his foot on the gas. That was a lax game from Sekou Bangura. Svida now up a set and a break. And to your point, I feel like especially at this level, everyone's got a buddy who lives in the Southern California area that played tennis. You're like, hey, couch, or, you know, if you're fortunate, spare bedroom, can I stay here for a week, 2, if I win 3? And it's like, yeah, you know, go ahead. He will be along for the ride. And, you know, again, certainly it's been fun to ride the Svida roller coaster over these past 2 weeks. Just how steady he has been, 6-3, 1 love. He was not one of the 8 American men to reach the 3rd round of Wimbledon this year, but for the first time since, do you want to guess, BK? I'll give you a hint. Your hint is me. What year was I born? I mentioned this yesterday.
I think it was 95, wasn't
Let's go. BK listens, folks. Bradley Klon, fantastic listener. 1995, the last time 8 American men reached the 3rd round or further of Wimbledon. So with that in mind, we move on to our next trivia. Again, all you got to do, why answer these trivia questions? Earn yourself a shot. 30-minute virtual lesson from Paul Anico. No lessons needed for Zach Svida right now as he's in cruise control. On our new trivia, only 2 women have reached at least the 4th round in singles of every slam played in 2022. Name one of those 2 players. He missed that?
he?
Oh,
Missed
he
that.
did. Oh.
Real danger territory for Bangura here. We've seen the wheels start to fall off in the last 10 or 15 minutes. Had a couple chances early on the Svida serve. Dropped serve to go down 5-3, and really since then has seen the energy dip. You saw I can start to see the head kind of drag a little, and we've seen that fluctuation from him from time to time. We saw up 5-3 in the first set yesterday, lost 4 straight games, came back very strong in the second set. so important from Zvida here to really keep his foot down, sense the momentum shift from Bangora, sense that energy loss, and realize it's his opportunity to gain more territory, to keep extending this lead.
Sails on him there. Someday, we'll give it 10 more years till he retires. Bangora's just going to be teaching clinics on that inside in forehand. Just his weight balance, start to finish in that shot. It is clinical.
You can see the way he hits the forehand. He really gets the outside of the ball well. That's why he's able to hit it so well, but also that affects the inside out forehand. He's not able to hit the back of the ball. You can see when he does try to go to the inside out, how it kind of tails toward the middle. He's not able to really break the sideline on that side. But yes, to your point, he's able to hit that inside in from anywhere in the court and still really pull Zvida off the court.
Into the net on that one. And of course, once again, Zach Svida disappearing from our screen for another second serve return. He's playing that ball in Rancho Santa Fe, working his way back here to Los Cab.
That's more like it from Bangora, really setting up the point with that inside in, stretching Zvida so far, using both sides of the court effectively, and makes that backhand volley just a little punch into the open court.
Love that play. Of course, scoreboard a bit behind. We're back to deuce now. And it does feel like this is a now or never sort of game for Bangora, doesn't it, BK?
Yeah, it feels obvious to state, but it is, or cliche to state, but it is so true for him. Just with the way the last 4 games have gone and the momentum shift, really important to keep this to a 1-break deficit. You're starting to see a little bit more of that aggression now. What we saw early in the match, really looking to dictate with the forehand and move forward. He's been successful twice at the net. Again, there, taking that forehand well inside the baseline.
Oh, Zach Svida.
The improv skills.
After the match, he'll be asked, did you mean to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We actually practiced that shot.
Never in doubt.
They call that the Nankin. A little on-the-run mid-court special. Yep, missed that one long. So another break point chance here for Svajda. It's just so smooth. I know we spent a lot of this match talking about Svajda, but he's made fewer than 10 unforced errors. Just again, saying, okay, beat me. I dare you.
Again, that's been the most successful play for Bangora, kicking that second serve wide on the ad. You can see Svajda's not even in the picture, and then has all that court to work with his most dominant shot of the match today, which is that inside in forehand. It's tough for Svajda. Bangora's been giving him a lot of errors, so it's easy to fall back and just try and play retriever, allowing him to miss. Important for Svajda to keep that aggression, keep moving forward. That's given him a lot of success over the last couple weeks.
You look for Sekou Bangora as we go back to deuce here. I mean, he's played one bad service game per set in this match. I mean, certainly that first game coming off the first set, that was a blink. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Couple forehand unforced errors. A loose game, certainly. I don't think Bangora's played poorly in this match so far today.
The results of a match hinge on just a couple points and the most timely points, right? Bangora played solid, aggressive tennis up to that 3-4 service game. Had a little bit of a hangover to start the second set. Played a pretty lackadaisical opening service game. Looked like he was continuing that. Was in danger of getting down 2 breaks. Has done a good job fighting this off, but still in danger here.
Go back to deuce now. Sekou Bangora on serve for the match, making just 53% of his first serves. It's 22 of 43. 51% of his service points. Every point's been competitive. Svajda just able to generate some depth. Just about every turn, get things back to neutral. That's the one you got to capitalize. It looks like, did he send that wide? He did.
Missed that one. Again, just the speed of Svajda forcing Bangora to go for a little extra. Bring it on that air. Again, that running forehand pass from Svajda. Baiting Bangora to come in, and does with that approach, but gives Svajda a big opening, and he's able to capitalize.
So 3-love double break lead now for Zach Svajda. You see the stats on your screen. Again, Zachary Svajda, scoreboard would indicate as much. You win 9 of 12 games, you're doing a good job. Svajda making 78% of his first serves He's won 79% of his first serve points, 27 for 37 behind the serve in general in this match, BK. I mean, yeah, if you've dropped 10 points on serve in 6 service games, things tend to be going well. He's had some free points won on serve, but what has been so successful in those service games for Svajda today?
He's getting up in the games early, right? He's not getting in those love 15, love 30 holds. I think that's really key. When you constantly put the returner under pressure, you constantly build that lead. You start giving yourself the freedom to play bigger in the games, playing with a little bit of the cushion. That also translates to the return game. When you're holding serve easily, you free up a little bit. You don't feel that constant pressure on your serve. Now it gives you the ability to take more risk.
So you look now, Svajda. Again, 6-3, 3-love lead, closing in on what would be a 10th consecutive SoCal Pro Circuit singles victory, back-to-back titles for the 19-year-old. He's only won 1 title in his career prior to the season, was at the end of last year, the 25K in Austin.
Which coincidentally, Coach Rick Bukta was in Austin with him for that title as well.
Clearly paying some dividends here, and obviously I'm sure Coach Rick, David, the entire team working with Zach know better than we do, BK. But I'll ask you this question again for any new viewers we picked up today. Spider-Man calls you, says, BK, congratulations, you're on the team. What are the things you're working on over the next few years as, again, this 19-year-old continues to work his way up the pro rankings?
Yeah, continuing to beef up the serve, I think, is a big thing. That consistency you saw there, that's a first serve. You're up 3-0, double break, 15-all. You need to put the hammer down. Bring the heat. Impose your will on Bangora. Let him continue to feel this drop of the head, this momentum. This is a perfect instance where if I'm working with Zach, it's all about the mentality of keeping the pressure on and bringing the A game. So I think the serve and the mentality, and then I think that also translates into what I said yesterday with the approach. Being able to move forward, continue to put pressure, improving the net game.
Svajda facing his first 2 break points of the match since early. I believe it was his 2-all service game. In set number 1, fights the first off with a well-placed serve. Oh, that's a tough one. Went for the center target too, BK, just overcooked it.
Yeah, right play. Those are the balls you just have to execute, especially when you're, this is do or die for Bangor. Just got broken to go down 2 breaks. This is where you generally expect your opponent, if you're Svajda, to make a little bit of a run, that last push, trying to get himself back into the match. But I've seen a couple loose return errors from Bangora.
Svajda escapes. Couple of loose forehand returns, 30-40. Deuce as well. It's all going the way of the 19-year-old Zachary Svajda, the top seed, 2 games away now. 6-3, 4-love. By the way, 3 minutes till we're going to change trivia, folks. 2 women reach the second weekend singles of every slam this season. All you got to do, tweet at us at Crack Racquets, at Bradley Klon, A.L. Gruskin. Just need the name of one. Think you got it for us, BK? Do you think you can name either of them? Do you need a hint?
Let me think.
Let him brainstorm for a little bit. So we see Bangor here, 30 love. Love that play. Little serve overhead action. Point chances to get on the board here in set 2. Bangor on the board. Big serving. Still at Zachary's Fida. Double break lead now. 6-3, 4-1. He's closing in on a 10th consecutive SoCal Pro Circuit victory. So with that in mind, we'll answer this trivia question here. Here's my hint to you. One's an American, and the other has the most impressive non-Iga Swiatek streak going on in WTA tennis right now. My 2 hints to everyone. You can tweet at us at Cracked Racquets, at Bradley Klon, at AL Gruskin. Only 2 women have reached the second week at every major played this season in singles.
Oh, Coco Gauff?
One of them, that's not the American, beat Coco Gauff at this year's Wimbledon.
Oh.
3 sets. Super producer Daniel Westoff knew who the player was. Not putting any pressure on you, BK, but he could guess the American. That just shows you what his life has become.
Highlighting that I have not been paying attention as well as I thought I have.
When I say also beat Osaka in Australia. French Open. French Open semifinalist in 2019. Was a teenager when she did it.
Anna Samova.
There it is. Amanda Nisimova won Elisa Mertens, who's made, I think it's 18 consecutive third rounds or further at the majors, which quietly ridiculous. She's the other one. So it's Mertens and Anisimova. Your answers here. Ooh, that's a good one too. I like our new trivia question. We'll get back to it as Fida, the 19-year-old serving here. 6-3, 4-1, 15 love.
Again, Bangor just out in front on that return. Seen a few more errors creep in. We saw how successful he was attacking this Vita second early in that first set. Since then, just been unable to find the range.
Vita cruising through that service game. Now 1 game away from the championship, 6-3, 5-1. Of course, still got more action for you here on Championship Sunday, week 5 of the SoCal Pro Circuit. Coming up next, our women's singles final. Young taking on Mckenna Jones. Ugh. He's everywhere.
Good hands up there from Zach. Good feel moving up to that drop shot. We like to call those the broken points, the intangibles. That's so many of the drills you do in practice working on the ground strokes. But when you get in the matches, there's so many of those little hands points, and really important just to be able to keep that body under control, understand where you're placing the ball. Not always about the pace.
Svida now 2 points away. I've also noticed, and I don't want to say Svida's a bad volleyer, but non-natural volleyers, where it's not your inclination, if you make them improvise at the net, they're fine. It's when they have time and they think before the volley that they're in trouble.
Exactly. You can see up there, that's just a pure reaction play up there. Protect yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That had nothing to do with winning the point. Everything to do with survival. As we see Bangura. I'll tell you what, if you're going to miss that forehand back fence, you better follow it up with an ace. And he does, 4-15-30. Still, now match point coming up. 15-40 here for Zach Svida. Forehand sails wide. It's the Svida man. Back-to-back titles on the USTA SoCal Pro Circuit. Svida 6-3, 6-1 over Sekou Bangura to capture the 3rd Pro Circuit title of his career. Bradley Klon, your thoughts on the 19-year-old's win today?
Yeah, just an incredible performance from Zach. It is very difficult to win 1 title, let alone 2 titles back to back. He was so solid, weathered a little bit of the storm in the first set. You thought it was kind of neck and neck. Bangura came out playing pretty aggressively, had the break point early to go up an early break. It's amazing how often those swings can change a match. And really, once Zach overcame that, got the early break, he was just too solid for Bangura today. He moved very effectively. We talked about him dropping back on the second serve, but you could see he was just complacent to take his opportunities when he had them, otherwise stay in the rallies, force Bangura to go for a little bit more than he was comfortable with. And you saw the air start to creep in there from Bangura as that second set wore on.
Yeah, no, again, so impressive. The 19-year-old, 10 consecutive victories in 2 weeks. He'll keep his top 400 ranking heading into a massive North American summer where there are challengers. He'll have opportunities to play maybe an ATP wild card thrown in here and there as well. Certainly given the rough start, 3-10 through his first 13 matches of the season to get 10 consecutive victories over 2 weeks. He came to do a job at this SoCal Pro Circuit, and that job has been accomplished. So credit and congratulations to Zach Svida. As we learned from Elena Rybakina Djokovic today, credit to Mr. and Mrs. Svida, the Svida parents, Svida family as well. Always got to give a shout out to the Svida team, again, for their support of Zach, and obviously promising future for the 19-year-old. But with that said, that's singles final number 1 in the books, folks. But rest assured, we still got more tennis for you here on Championship Sunday. Women's final to go. Mckenna Jones won a title, her first on the Pro Circuit a few weeks ago in San Diego. She'll take on the ever rising Yang 30-6 in singles overall this season. We'll have that action starting up for you in about 15 minutes. We'll have continued trivia for all of you as well throughout the course of our broadcast. As you see trivia on the screen right now, only 2 men in history have won the Wimbledon singles title without dropping a single set. Name one of them. That's your trivia question. When we come back, at Crack Racquets, at AL Gruskin, at Bradley Klahn. Still got one match to go here on week 5. BK, any final thoughts before we wrap this boy and head to break?
Already said it once, but I'll say it again. Really happy for Zvida. Really impressed with his composure out there and his ability to build on the confidence that he gained last week. Carry that on. This is going to pay huge dividends moving forward as we get into the summer hardcourt series.
I love to see it. So with that said, we'll let them hand out the trophies, take some photos, but we will be back for the start of our women's singles final. We'll say that's about a tentative 2:35-ish, 2:40-ish start here Eastern time on our screen. With all of that said, for the fantastic Bradley Klahn, our super producer Daniel Westoff, I'm Alex Gruskin. You're watching our Cracked Racquets coverage of the 2022 USTA SoCal Pro Circuit. back, everyone, to our Cracked Racquets coverage of the 2022 SoCal Pro Circuit. Alex Gruskin, joined by a top 100 ATP player, NCAA singles champion, and I'll just say it, pretty good guy, in Bradley Klahn, joining me for our final match of Week 5, this Fountain Valley Open, delivering us some fantastic tennis here on championship weekend. We just saw Zach Svida earn his 10th consecutive victory, second straight title here on the SoCal Pro Circuit. Now we get into our women's singles final. Two familiar faces for those of you who have joined us on our Cracked Racquets coverage of this SoCal Pro Circuit. Serving on the near side of your screen, one of the rising players on the WTA Tour. It's 18-year-old Yayi Yang. Her 4 seed here this week, making a second finals appearance here on the SoCal Pro Circuit. Her 4th final in 9 events in this 2022 season. Yeah, Young, 30-6 overall here in 2022 coming into the match. BK, what makes her such a special young talent?
Yeah, just that raw athleticism and power that we've seen on display. You could say that this SoCal Pro Circuit was a match made in heaven for her. She has torn it up the last 5 weeks. Having so much success. Yesterday we talked about just the dominance throughout the year for her on the ITF Pro Circuit, but just that ability to relentlessly go after her shots. We've seen the power in singles and doubles. She does not hold anything back. There are no punches pulled on her ground strokes.
It's an early hold for Young. 4-1 love. You look for the 18-year-old, her pathway to these finals. Yae Young dropped just one set. It was her first set yesterday against Malika Rapalou. Quickly righted the ship, did Young, dropping just 2 games the rest of the way and cruising to this 4th final. You look for Young. Was a top 40 junior in the world, made some appearances at the junior slams, but wasn't a top 5, top 10, 20 sort of player. And yet BK, again, 30-6 here in her first full season of tour level play. It's a lot of tennis on the body. Again, all of those matches have come, all but one, excuse me, in the past 2 months, but what a start to the pro career of the 18-year-old.
You mentioned the run she's had and just the importance of continuing to build on that momentum, especially when you're young and starting out your career. When you start to stockpile wins and things start to snowball, you get this aura about you. Players don't want to play you. A little bit of that intimidation factor, really important to capitalize on that as much as you can within reason, right? We've talked at length about the balance between how much do you ride that momentum, how much do you save your body. It's very important to manage that. That's why you have a team around you to help you kind of pull back on the strings if things are starting to feel a little achy, or you just have to remember that it's a long career. If you're really looking at over the lifespan of the career, there's a lot of runway.
Of course, as we've noticed, it's always the 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds who can still do this. Go get their McDonald's, Chipotle afterwards, and maybe even some ice cream. Be fine the next day. Of course, Yae Young's 5 results on the SoCal Pro Circuit: semifinals, finals, quarterfinals, semis, now another final here. But look, as good as she's been, maybe her toughest test to date on the other side of the net in Mckenna Jones. Jones, the 24-year-old, had to qualify this week, but is clearly in the midst of her best professional season. Jones, 40-21 overall in her pro career, 20-5 in this, her second full season. Playing a full-time pro tour schedule. Faces 3 early break points here. 2, excuse me. But the double fault gives the break to Yang. So Yang, 2-love lead here early. Of course, Mckenna Jones, again, winner back in the final week of San Diego of this SoCal Pro Circuit stretch. Jones also success on the doubles court. Both of these players have had success in doubles. For Yang, was winning the doubles title earlier this week. Yesterday, a 10-6 win in the third for her and her partner. Also won the doubles final in San Diego. Finalist last week at the Kramer Club. Of course, Mckenna Jones, 2021 NCAA doubles champion at the University of North Carolina. She also has had some success, reaching the final in San Diego, losing to Yae Yang and partner Bunyawe Chaiwat. Also won the week prior. So if we're going to hand out awards, BK, for the SoCal Pro Circuit, these two players are on the short list.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good all-star lineup for our last final of the day, and just a summary of the success that's been had on the SoCal Pro Circuit.
Can that power Yae Yang able to play with can overwhelm any athlete, even one like Mckenna Jones. I will say shout out to Mckenna Jones. It may not be Wimbledon here at the Fountain Valley Open of Los Cab, but the all-white on this for the Sunday Championship. Little nod towards the action happening over in London. Who'd you rather get the trophy from, BK? Her Royal Highness Kate Middleton or Chris Boyer handing you that trophy at the end of the event? It's close. It's close.
I think center court Wimbledon.
It's true.
It's tough. Los Cab, a lot of good memories there. That's not a knock on Los Cab either. Played junior sectionals there in SoCal. A lot of good memories from that club.
People have called the Boyers the Windsors of SoCal Pro Tennis before. It's not a terrible comp, but of course we see here Yae Yang 3-love lead right now. Up an early break over the qualifier, Mckenna Jones. If we can, super producer Daniel Westoff for the 24-year-old Jones. Let's show her path here. Again, wins a title a few weeks ago in San Diego. Still has to play qualifying at these events, and Jones has played a ton of tennis over the past few weeks, but has yet to drop a set here, and was awfully comfortable in a straight set victory yesterday over Katie Codd. We've talked about the power tennis Yang is capable of playing. What does Mckenna Jones need to do to get Yang off her back foot, disrupt that rhythm?
Yeah, we saw yesterday she was the only straight set match, which coming through qualifying, you have to love that just with the match count and the wear and tear over the week. But we saw her do a really nice job of establishing her forehand inside out, getting her opponent, Katie Cobb, moving yesterday, exposing some of the movement there. So I think really for her, it's you have to be able to neutralize. We've talked about Yang's power all weekend. Have to be able to neutralize that on one ball, and then be able to take advantage when you do neutralize and get on offense. I'd like to see her try and expose some of Yang's movement. We've seen her play offensive. We haven't seen her when she's had to react.
But there's, again, when Yae Yang has her feet set, you can try approaching forehand, backhand, wing. Doesn't matter. She's going to do damage. Love 15. You saw the trivia on the top right hand of your screen. Some Jones family trivia. Mckenna Jones' father, Kelly Jones, two-time NCAA doubles champion. Played with Jerome Jones, Carlos DeLora. At what school, Bradley Klon?
I got it.
A SoCal school.
Do you want me to spoil it for our listeners?
No,
already?
this is not an actual trivia. This is just a BK trivia.
Oh, Pepperdine.
Oh, okay, so you do know your history. Respect.
Had the pleasure of working with Kelly Jones a little bit out in Carson when he was in LA. just a great tennis mind. And his wife is actually the niece of my former college coach, John Whitlinger at Stanford.
There you go. Fun fact, Kelly Jones, Mckenna Jones, the only father-daughter duo in NCAA history to both earn NCAA doubles titles. But right now, Mckenna Jones struggling behind the serve. You just feel that pressure of Yang right from the start, right?
Yeah, it's tough, especially she's got off to such a hot start. We've seen her from time to time start to spray some of those balls, but she's been locked in here to start. And when she's locked in, you feel that extra pressure. You have to do more on your serve, go for a little bit more to get her out of her, get Yang out of her strike zone, and that's when the errors start to creep in. Really important mentally to just settle yourself down. It's really easy for the head to start spinning.
Just long. But yeah, you're up love 40, take a swing. And you never have to tell Yang.
40 or 30 all.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't matter what the score is. You don't have to tell her. That's what she does best. The 18-year-old again. 2 more break point chances here. 13 minutes in. She's got to look at 4-0.
There's some of that doubles prowess paying off there for Mckenna Jones. Really effective. You can see there she was able to get Yang moving side to side. Yang was unable to get those feet set, and we've seen how successful she's been when those feet are set, but not able to generate that pace on the run. Made for a much simpler volley there.
Shows you just how thin the margins are, how high a level you have to play when the 18-year-old Yang is striking the ball so well. But there's an ace out wide. First ace of the match for Jones. I don't remember her having that gear in college. Talk about developing the weapons to make life easy for yourself. That's been the biggest difference for me in Jones over the past year. Developing those weapons. Talked about this with Bangura. That's one of those good misses. Little thin margins, of course, maybe not line there, but you almost have to go for that much right now.
Yeah, and that's the pressure that Yang's putting on Jones, just that ability. She knows she's got to go for that forehand. If she leaves it hanging in the middle of the court, it's as good as over.
Tell you what, there's also some fire to Yang. After every big ball, you're going to get a yell. And I just don't know if you can avoid that when you hit the ball that big. It's a visceral, natural reaction. I wouldn't know. I couldn't do that. So again, 4-love lead now. The 18-year-old, so impressive to start this women's singles final. And speaking of impressive, our trivia question for those of you following, a shot to win a 30-minute virtual tutorial on your game from Paul Anacone. All you got to do is tweet at us, at Crack Rackets, at Bradley Klon, at Al Gruskin, answers to the trivia question. Our current question, only 2 men in history have won the Wimbledon singles title without dropping a single set. All you got to do is name one of them. Foot fault called. Interesting.
That calls from the chair, too. No baseline umpire today.
This is the thing for Yang. There will be errors piling up. Now, credit to Mckenna Jones, a couple of nice returns there. And I actually really like that play. Yesterday, Jones was able to tee up on a couple of Katie Codd second serves. I don't know if that's as easy against Yang, but big down the center. Just don't give Yang easy options.
Yeah, anytime you get someone who plays so aggressively and has the big explosive swings that Yang has, great way. Take those angles out of play, rush her down the middle, use the speed of the court. Most players have an easier time moving out to the ball and getting set than adjusting the feet, making those small little steps, and getting around the ball in the middle of the court.
Sometimes it doesn't matter. I mean, all I can do is laugh. I can't help it. It's just out of nowhere. Again, she has that trigger where it's just like, look, I'm going to go big. Time it pays off for 15:30. Tee serve there for 30 all. It's so fascinating to hear you talk about that footwork it requires the first ball after the serve. I think for a recreational tennis player, some of our viewers on the stream, that's the ball where if you haven't played for a while or whatever it may be, that's the ball that kills you. Not the serve, not the return, that second shot.
It's that first ball after the serve, reacting quickly to the return. There's a lot going on, landing after the serve, pushing off and getting ready.
Goes big on the second serve, misses wide though, so the double fault for Young. First of the match leads to a break point chance here for Jones. Now we're talking. Might have to be that good for Mckenna Jones today, but it was there. She gets one of the breaks back now on the scoreboard, 4-1-4. How about that change of speed, BK?
A lot of credit to Mckenna Jones there, staying so mentally strong, got down that quick 4-0, but gave herself a chance, fought her way back. We've seen the first strike ability of Yang, but once Jones was able to get into the point, she was able to go to work, move the ball around, take away some of that power from Yang, and saw her able to expose Yang's movement, redirect up the line there with that backhand. And
not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. And so you look here now, again, Mckenna Jones, 24 years old, second pro circuit final for her. Turns pro after the 2021 season at North Carolina. And again, coming into this tournament, into the sequence of tournaments, right around 1,000 in the world, forced to play qualifying at these 15K events. But now for 5 consecutive weeks, she's gotten a shot at the main draw. And just, again, to find a comfort level. You see what that's done for her game this week. Precisely who the SoCal Pro Circuit was trying to help. Players like a Yang, 18 years old, looking to break through. Jones, 24, finishing up her college career. Both have done a masterful job taking advantage of these opportunities. 1-4 here for Jones.
yeah, you just see the importance, and it takes a while to learn the ropes of the tour and make the adjustments, and just, it's especially coming out of college. It's a big change. You're not playing matches day in, day out. You don't have the support of your teammates. It takes a while on the tour to learn to create your own structure. That structure that's there in place in college for you isn't there on the tour. And you're starting to see Mckenna Jones develop some of that confidence. He talked about the success she's had on this stretch, and now starting to give herself an opportunity to bypass qualifying and earn her way directly into these main draws.
Mckenna Jones, plenty of match experience over the past 4 or 5 years. It's funny, I was looking up your resume, BK. I was like, oh, she'll have to have you beat in terms of total college wins. Mckenna Jones, 115 and 35 in her career. Bradley Klein, 130 college wins. Yeah, that's not bad, BK. I'll tell you what, the 100 club's the elite club in college tennis. Not many get to 130. That inside-out forehand, delightful.
When she's able to get on that front foot and play that first strike tennis, she's been simply dominant. You've seen once Jones is able to get into the points and start to move the ball around, she's having more success there. She's starting to find her way into a few more points, but it's just been so difficult to get past that 1-2 punch from Yang.
She'll take the freebie there. Another break point. Fought off right now. Mckenna Jones struggling to manufacture much of anything on serve. She's making 71% of her first serves, but just 6 of 18 so far behind the serve. All sailed wide for deuce. Here's something you never want to hear. Mckenna Jones has won 6 points on serve. 5 of those 6 points have been to fight off break points. That's tough.
So not getting ahead in games is what you're saying.
That would be the layman's term, correct.
That wears on you too over the course of a match. Just that relentless pressure that you're under, always having to, that feeling of always having to stay alive as opposed to playing free, playing with the lead, even if it's just within the game.
Whew. Yeah, not much you can do. Outside corner of the line. Now here is the thing for Yang, and she'll do this from time to time. Earn game point chance, have an opportunity to really put her foot on the gas, and then the errors will pile up. You do sense a bit of an opportunity here for Jones. Just down a bit after that electric start.
Yeah.
Tough, though.
If you're Jones, you definitely have to weather the storm here and just understand mentally that Yang got off to an incredibly hot start, was seemingly untouchable from the ground. Each time she had her feet set, seemed like we were watching a winner go by, but there will be some regression to the mean. We've seen the fluctuating nature of the ground strokes. Important for her to stay solid.
Oh, just long. That one floated for a while, but ultimately Yang swinging freely, swinging confidently. Now 1 game away. Taking the opening set 6-1, Alex Gruskin, Bradley Klahn. Final match, week 5 on the SoCal Pro Circuit, was another teenager, the Svita man, Zachary Svita. Definitive straight set victory, 6-3, 6-1 in our men's singles final over Sekou Bangura, second title in consecutive weeks for the 19-year-old Svita.
Again, we're starting to see when Mckenna Jones can get past those first 2-3 shots from Yang, she's having a lot more success. It's just, can she get that return serve +1 just deep enough, just out of the strike zone enough to give herself a chance to stay in the point?
Slow motion does the trick for Mckenna Jones. Of 30.
Seeing her start to throw that loopier forehand up to the Yang backhand. Great play to buy herself some time, allow her to recover back into the middle of the court. Yang's too strong from the ground right now just to get into a kind of a power game back and forth.
If you watch Mckenna Jones at all during her prolific college career, that, of course, is what made her so special, her ability to problem solve. I know it's a little non-quantifiable as a stat, but how well she competes. Yeah, Miss Long. To your point, Bradley Klahn, Mckenna Jones, particularly as with the return, has found the depth. She's found the strike zone. Doing a much better job of neutralizing things at the start of these points. 2 more breakpoint chances here to extend the first set. Laser down the line, Mckenna Jones. Extending set number 1. Now she solving the serve. That's going to be the question for her. Yang finding such rhythm on the return right now, but Jones able to keep things alive, has broken Yang in back-to-back service games, building a little momentum here at the end of set number 1, 4-2-5. All right, as we look again, trivia competition for all of you Cracked Racquets fans tuning into our broadcast today. Chance to win a free 30-minute lesson from Paul Annacone. The question, only 2 men in history have won the Wimbledon singles title without dropping a single set. BK, can you name both of these players?
I can name Federer.
Roger Federer, indeed, one of the answers. Federer winning in 2017, which I believe it was his final slam title of late.
Has Djokovic ever done it?
Djokovic has not. There's one other name on the men's side. When you realize it, you're like, oh, duh.
My two guesses would be Sampras or Borg.
Those are the two correct guesses to have. Bjorn Borg, 1976. You were 3 years old, BK. Just kidding. Yeah. No, that was a joke. That was a joke.
Gray hairs in there.
Yeah. Bjorn Borg, by the way, I don't think he even has gray hairs at this point. Beautiful. Beautiful man. Also dropped Wimbledon without dropping a set. So again, appreciate all of you who have taken the time to participate. Race is still wide open, though, with 1 week to go. Answer the most correct trivia questions. Get Paul Anacone to comment on your game for 30 minutes. Next trivia question: who is the lowest ranked men's player to ever win Wimbledon? We're enjoying tennis, teaching history lessons. That's what it's all about. Another double fault from Jones, her fourth of the match. Yes, Bradley Klon has already submitted via our Zoom chat his answer. He knows the answer. Do you know the answer at Cracked Racquets, at Alex Gruskin, at Bradley Klon? Again, double fault number 4 for Mckenna Jones here. Love 30 BK. The serve, it continues to be a struggle.
Yeah, I'd like to see her go for a little bit more on this first serve. Young's getting a lot of good looks at the serve, able to get on her front foot on the return and just go to work on that power game that we've seen be so successful over this circuit. Again, those double faults, a product of the pressure that Jones is feeling from the Young return. Talked about her need to go for a little bit more just to throw Young off her game a little bit, give a different look, but that is the result when you're trying to stretch your comfort zone a little bit, go for a bit more pace. More air start to creep in.
Love that tactic from Jones, pushing forward. Just trying to, again, change the rhythm. Change the script a little bit in this match.
Yeah, she did a really nice job recognizing that short ball from Young. We haven't seen many of those from her, but she was quick on it, moved up very nicely. Just used the momentum to carry through the shot.
Young more likely to hit the back fence than she is the service box.
History would show that.
But the net cord goes the way of Ya Young, 18-year-old closing in on a potential second career pro circuit title. 30-6 overall on the year, 6-2 up in our women's singles final against Mckenna Jones. Again, Alex Gruskin, Bradley Klon, so fortunate to get to steer our coverage of this SoCal Pro Circuit action. You look at the stats from set number 1, obviously most notably the struggles for Jones on serve. She makes 63% of her first serves, but 10 of 29 on service points, broken in all 4 of her service games. I mean, again, you can only do so much with your serve in terms of adjustments mid-match, BK, but that's obviously the big number. She has broken Yang in Yang's last 2 service games, and we talked about this before. What's the difference between the ITF level and the WTA level? The ability to win free points on serve. That said, I mean, would you rather see the first serve percentage dip for Jones and she go for a bit more? What would you like to see in set 2?
Yeah, at this point, 62% first serves isn't gaining her an advantage. She's only winning 44% of those serves. Obviously, 18% of the second serves is not a number that you want to see either. So I would like to see a little bit more aggression from her. She's giving Yang too many looks to start the point on the offense. And we saw what Jones has been able to do, getting into the points on the Yang serve, neutralize, start to throw in some of those higher forehands. She has to be able to get to that place on her own serve. And to do that, she can't be on the defense right off the return.
Odds makers say 10-1 Mckenna Jones throws in something underhand in this second set. 10-1, according to the odds makers. Only thing more explosive than the backhand was the roar. 15 love for Ya Yang. On the flip side, if you're the 18-year-old, 1 set to the good, what do you continue to do here in set 2?
Look, she played a phenomenal first set. A little bit of a hiccup there on her last 2 service games. So I think it's important for her to build this lead, get this early hold. You can hear the importance, willing herself on, and that importance. Mckenna Jones still yet to hold serve. So if I can build that pressure, if Mckenna Jones is able to get a break here and start to relax, like her first lead in a set, that can pay dividends on her serve too. So for Yang, you want to continue to make her feel that pressure.
We see that one go wide. Can I throw a hypothesis at you?
All right, let's hear it.
I think Ya Yang's found the 75% ball. Now, her 75% is still more explosive than 90% of humans, but she's actually been very measured in this match so far. Nothing too absurd.
No, you've seen that in some of the longer points. When Jones has been able to get into the rally, mix up the heights, she has demonstrated that ability to play within herself on that high backhand, play just the solid, smooth backhand cross, reset the point, and then try and find that powerful forehand.
That's a nice return of serve from Mckenna Jones, who has fully realized what she has to do with that return of serve. She has her feet set under her. That ball is coming back with pace. To be honest, it's going down the center of the court.
Yeah, that particular one, she found a great angle, but you saw just kind of the weak second serve of Yang. And as you mentioned, Jones has to step on the gas there and take the offense when she has it.
That ball right there. That was the one that, yeah, it was effective, but she didn't seem to swing Mach 5 at it.
That's a great sign that we're looking for in her maturity. That also comes with confidence. We've talked about how well she's done on the pro circuit this year, particularly here in Southern California. That's a sign of the confidence growing.
A little bit of a blink on the double fault for deuce. Again, if I'm Allison Swain, head coach for the USC women's team, or Stella Sampras Webster's for UCLA, even Coach Faroud at Stanford, you would see me on that sideline right now and just saying, come on, 6 months. 6 months. That's all I need. Give me 1 year.
Is she a professional? Yeah.
She may be. I mean, she's played a ton of tournaments. Still 18, though. Just turned 18 in May.
Good first serve there out wide when she needed it. This is that pivotal first game. Jones doing a really nice job of trying to swing the momentum in her favor.
Big hold for 18-year-old Yang to kick off set number 2. Her first hold since her second service game. 6-2, 1 love. Now overall, of course, week 5 of this SoCal Pro Circuit. We continue next week with our final week of the action. I'm sad, BK. We gotten in the rhythm here. These past 5-6 weeks, knowing every weekend we get to enjoy some of the rising stars on the ATP WTA Tour, all competing here in the Southern California area. Of course, that only happens because of the support we get, whether it be Wilson, Klieg's, Crable's, ITF, USTA, SoCal Tennis Association Foundation, or the Bryan Brothers Foundation. By the way, the Bryan Brothers, are they the Pied Pipers of SoCal Pro Tennis, or just SoCal Tennis right now? Are they the rings you have to kiss, or is like Sampras still number 1?
It's hard to argue against either one of them.
Let's put it like this. Both guys show up to the Kramer Club. There's only 1 court left available. Now, the answer is Peter Smith kicks someone else off and he finds a second court, but there's only 1 court available. Who gets it for the practice sesh?
Sampras on the one side and Bob and Mike on the two.
That's a good answer.
Running a little workout.
It's fair. Okay, but Pete comes and says, I don't respect doubles players.
I mean,
Then
who
what happens?
I'm
just kidding.
That's low.
No, again, this is Pete talking, not me. Yeah.
From him.
Yeah. Big point from Jones. Haven't seen many 15-alls in her service games, and in fact, you look for Mckenna Jones in every service game that she's played. Yeah, she's been this is just her second 15-all. Just her second 15-all. She's been down love 30 in each of the other 4.
Again, you just see the ability of Yang to get on that front foot. We talked about the effectiveness of the middle return. See Jones just falling back, unable to create the space she needs.
Sent wide from Mckenna Jones, who's feeling the pressure. Certainly that Yang has put on her. You can see the frustration on her face.
Yeah, you saw the full display of skills from Yang there, that big up the middle return of the power that we've harped on throughout the series. But then the ability to adjust, to go high with that forehand, recognize that she's on the defense and keep herself in the point. That's the maturity that we've talked about.
And I like how you've pointed out the athleticism as well. Sloppy footwork there, but the first step itself, the fluidity in and out of corners, the depth she's able to generate in those corners. There's the fabrics of some defensive skills. That is some of the fun, though, when Yang's at the far side of the net. You never know where or when her ball's going to land. You're like, it's sailing. You're like, is it going to drop? Is it going to drop? Okay, it dropped.
Credit to Jones here again, showing that ability to stay in games. It's so tough playing from behind this often, but a great running pass there from Jones. We got ourselves a game point on our serve.
Off ball to redirect there. Good depth out of the corner. Once again from Yang. We're back to deuce. Yeah. Fun fact, I believe that was her first game point on serve of the match, BK.
I thought that sounded right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you.
49 minutes in. 49. And yet, it doesn't feel like she's out of this match by any stretch of the imagination. Jones is doing a fantastic job, even when things aren't clicking, of just hanging on, sticking around. But another just line drive return. We're back to deuce once again.
I like that serve from Jones. Sliding it into the body. See, Yang got a little jam there, not able to get those hands extended, generate that power.
Forehand wing, backhand wing, it doesn't matter. Jones now 4 of 16 on second serve points. Are back at deuce, and all of a sudden, I know it's cliche, but this game has taken on that much more importance here for both of these players. As we see another first serve into the body, draws an error. That's better play.
Yeah, again, just Young's so good when she gets those hands extended, but you can see her just fighting it off, a little unsure on those returns. Not on that one.
No, extended perfectly. Again, that kick out wide on the ad, just not having any effect.
No, that was a perfect dichotomy between the body and just the result. Obviously, the result, an error versus a clean screamer.
We've seen that a couple of times, and obviously the net cord playing a role there, but when Young's had to reach, stretch a little bit, it's been trouble. Now again, the slice, not exactly number 1 in the Mckenna Jones playbook. You'll never confuse her for Own Jabeur. Maybe you start throwing some of those in. Just do something a little different. How about that? 54 minutes. Mckenna Jones holds serve for the first time. And now we've got ourselves a match, folks. 1-1, second set. Alex Gruskin, Bradley Klon here. 24-year-old Mckenna Jones into a second Pro Circuit singles final. Won her first title in San Diego a few weeks ago. Taking on an 18-year-old Ya Yang, who's pretty much only made singles finals this season. 4 in her past 9 events, 30-6 overall on the year. Mckenna Jones was broken in each of her first 4 service games. Her and Young trading holds here to kick off set number 2.
Is this the spark that Jones needed? Young had 2 break points that I can remember, possibly more, in that last game to continue extending that dominance on return. Jones did a phenomenal job fending those off, as we've seen so many times earlier in the match, but finally able to get over the edge there and get that hold and keep things level.
15-40. Able to come up with a couple big serves.
We've only seen Jones playing from behind this entire match, so I'm very curious to see if she can hang around here, keep things level, keep putting the pressure back on the Young serve. If we'll start to see a few more of those airs creep in.
I'll give you the flip side of that argument. We've only seen Ya Yang play from in front here today. And with her power tennis, when you have a lead, now you can swing freely. Now
Right.
You can really get after the ball. So it works both ways. Completely agree with you, BK. As we see here, though, 40 love. Oh. I'll let you speak for the lefties. As a righty, slice T, second serve, that serve. Come on now.
Yeah, our camera angle does a great job. You can really see the banana bend in that serve. As a lefty, I can attest to the effectiveness of that.
Yeah, I never liked. I mean, again, I've said this story to you before, having grown up with two lefties in my family, older, younger brother, as we see again, Yang 6'2", 2'1" here on the changeover. I mean, you're just taught religiously at the younger levels, at the basic levels, kick T on the deuce, kick wide on the ad, go after that righty's backhand return. I just don't think you see a lot of slice forehands. I knew I was feeling myself when the slice T was working. And I'll send you the footage, BK. I'll let you be the judge for yourself. But certainly, again, for Yang, showing off she can hit all the spots, all the margin. And again, 4 finals for her this season already, has risen into the top 750 of the WTA rankings. Do you measure rankings threshold as you're going up, BK? Is that something you are actively monitoring, or is it more, again, the ranking only matters for the scheduling, right?
Look, I think to tell a player to never look at the ranking is a little bit foolish. It's natural to look at the ranking. The biggest thing is making sure that it doesn't affect your mindset. You have to stay committed to the process, keeping your head down, focusing on the work at hand, improving each and every week. Those are the controllables. You can't control the ranking to the extent that everybody else is working out there as well. And each week you're going to fluctuate. But if you are putting in the work day in, day out, the results will come.
So let me ask, you were top 700, I believe, when you were leaving college 2012, right around, 750, 700 range. Pretty quickly, you were into the top 400. Obviously, right now, Yang's in that position. You were in that position. Do you feel, again, this early in the career, when you're not defending points, how different is this point? You talk about, again, trying not to think about it, but for Yang, it's all free reign, right? Everything's new. Everything's free points. Do you feel that freedom on the court when you're going through something like that?
Certainly, it's much easier to play when you're not defending points. You don't have that pressure. You're not in the back of your head thinking, I need to get this result or that result, or my ranking's going to drop here. But ultimately, that mindset is counterproductive also, right? It's at the end of the day, there's a lot of weeks in the year to gain points. The season is long. The best thing you can do is put yourself in a position to compete each week, and things have to break your way too. There's a lot outside of your control that can break your way to get a result.
Yang roar. She's feeling it. 2 more break point chances here. Again, Mckenna Jones holding on 1 of 5 service games thus far. Nice response. It's fight or flight time, no doubt, for Mckenna Jones, who was able to fight off the 2 break points at 1-all.
Again, we're seeing her getting down in games, but doing a fantastic job staying alive, keeping herself within striking distance.
Okay. Mckenna Jones, big up the line forehand for deuce. And, you know, you've talked throughout our broadcast about feeling that early scoreboard pressure, chasing, and all 6 of her service games down. Mckenna Jones has been down at least 15-30. And again, it's a credit to Young, who continues to connect early on a couple of returns, but you just wonder, an hour of chasing, what that does to you, not only physically, but mentally as well. It's better, though. Well-connected forehand, certainly the sort of aggression we need to see out of Jones moving forward. And now Mckenna Jones, game point chance for 2-all, sure.
Excellent 1-2 punch from Jones there with the moving Yang side to side so effectively.
Maybe no slices. That's why I'm in the broadcast booth. Not out there on court. Young punishing the short ball down the line power. Continues to be on display. Back-to-back marathon service games. These have been our 2 longest games of the match here. For Jones as she fights to just hang on here. Back to deuce. I like a little juice back from Jones, raising her energy level. Here, come on from her.
Yeah, you're seeing a real uptick in her energy, trying to match the energy and emotion from Yang. So important, especially after dropping that first set. Saw towards the end of the first and now the second, she's really starting to find her competitiveness.
Good rally tolerance from Young. It's a cat and mouse game. You see the Jones adjustment here.
You can feel the importance, continued importance of holding serve from Jones, just keeping it within striking distance. Little help from the net court, always a benefit, particularly when trying to stave off another break point.
Another game point chance here for Jones. Six deuce. Deuce number 11 in the opening two service games of Mckenna Jones here in set number 2. I think it's pretty clear cut, folks. When Yang connects on the return, she's going to win the point. Can Jones do enough with her serve to disrupt that rhythm? But the second serve sails long. Second serve return, excuse me. So now another game point for Jones. Mckenna Jones escapes. 2-all. Set number 2. Boy, now's really the moment you feel.
Yeah, can Jones make this the turning point in the second set? Young's had so many opportunities to extend that lead. Jones starting to find her footing on the serve. Always a great confidence builder when you're able to tough out a couple holds.
Story of this match. Yang 4 for 15 on breakpoint chances. Mckenna Jones 2 for 2. So 6-2, 2-all here. Set number 2, Alex Gruskin, Bradley Klon. Credit to Yang. Seems to have found her rhythm on serve here in set number 2. Has yet to lose point on the first serve. 8 of 8 behind that shot. Young, 40 love now.
Showing off the power and the touch there with the drop shot, recognizing the court positioning that she had there.
All right. 40-15. Let's want to get build the 40 love lead. Young looking to extend her lead here. This fakes just 2 break points in the match. None here in set number 2. Again, showing some off-speed talent there. She holds 4-3-2. Ready to answer our trivia question now, BK. Our latest trivia question in the race to be coached by Pollyanna Cone.
I also received the answer from Coach Craig Boynton, current Hubie Hercox, who's watching. Ivanisevic.
I like it. I like it. Goran Ivanisevic is correct, CB. Of course, there's a 3% chance CB coached Ivanisevic at some point in his career. My only CB story, there was an exhibition event in Miami, JC Aragone's exhibition back summer of 2020, right? And Hubie ended up playing that event. And on the Saturday morning, our producer Westhoff and I, we were doing some of the tech stuff, and we had to carry all of our gear because they had a car issue at the house. It was like, bring less cars, please, if you can. We were like, okay, we can walk from the Airbnb. We're walking from the Airbnb. See this beautiful BMW flying down appropriate speed down the streets of Miami. Just 2 guys driving in the car. They get closer and closer. They start waving at us. I'm like, who's waving at us? It was Hubie Hercox and Craig Boynton waving at us as they drove by. Just didn't stop and say, you guys need a ride. Just cruised right past us, but gave us the wave at least, which I'm greatly appreciative of. And, you know, again, CB was so kind with his time with us as well. So appreciate him tuning in. Volley from Yang. I think that landed good. We got the roar. What do we see on the scoreboard? Love 15. It does land good. And another love 15 deficit here, BK. Again, just constantly facing scoreboard pressure. So here's the question. Can we get to 30-15? By the way, new trivia question on the board. 4 men have captured both the men's and boys singles titles at Wimbledon. Name one of them.
This is the first lead Mckenna Jones has had in a service game,
Hey,
other than 15 love.
I don't know what to do.
See if she can get a smoother hold here and put a little bit more of that pressure on the Yang serve.
Back to 30 all now. As I watch the 18-year-old Yang, I just have to think again. She'll probably play next week. You've gone through the first 5. Why not make it 6 for 6? Wouldn't shock me if we see Jones either, but I just can't imagine we're going to see either of these players at the 15K level for much longer.
It's the beauty of this circuit. A lot of opportunities to get the wins and continue moving up the ranks.
Dropper. Has to be the first we've seen her play today. Now it's break point chance. Number 17. Coming up here for Yi Yang. She's had a break point in all 3 of Mckenna Jones's service games. We've played 11 deuces in the first 2 here in set 2. That backhand sails long. When you trail on the scoreboard for long enough, you'll eventually pay. Jones trying to do a little bit more with that +1 forehand BK, but it sails on her, and there's the break lead. 6-2, 4-2.
Yeah, you've been sensing this for a while. Young just Jones holding on for dear life. Young continuing to apply the pressure and ask the questions, and finally breaks through in this second set.
So I'll ask you, as we look towards this service game here, obviously, again, first break lead in set number 2. First serve from Yi Yang to get the game started. What are you focusing on here if you're Mckenna Jones?
She's had more success on the returning against the Yang serve anyway. So drawing on that confidence, she's done a better job of getting in games since that quick 4-0 deficit. So trying to find that first strike ability, play through the middle on these second serve returns, and push Yang back.
Exactly what BK calls for. First return deep down the center, sets up the +1 forehand, I guess we can call it. I think that's a +1, sort of.
Return +1.
Yeah. So the inside out winner, 415 all. Ah, dropper to the dropper. Mckenna Jones right back at it here for 15-30. Has done exactly as Bradley Klahn suggested. Returns down the center here. Again, Jones hasn't had a break point since the 7th game of the match. She broke for 2-5 in that first set. Her 2 breaks, her only 2 games in the first.
Love that ability from Jones to get around, recognizing when Yang threw up the high ball, not being complacent, getting around there, finding a forehand, then changing the pace again. And that's where we've seen Yang struggle a little bit, is measuring the feet on those higher, less paced balls, produce the air there.
So now 2 break point chances for Jones. Struggled on serve, but if she can get this break back, just keep pace. Jones doesn't love the call. Tough for us to tell here virtually. I don't think that's where it landed. But deep more than wide, nevertheless. As we've alluded to, a chair umpire has never once changed their mind. Break point chance here. Look at a second serve. Look for her to step in. Take this return on the rise.
Decided to go for a little much. Really thin margins over there. We've seen her have success through the middle of the court.
It's definitely one of those ones you watch back the film later and you just ask, what was I thinking? So now for the first time here in set number 2, it's a deuce point Young service game. Advantage for the 18-year-old. She could find herself one game away from a first SoCal Pro Circuit title, second pro title of her career. Hear the roar from Yang. She senses the opportunity. 6-2, 5-2, one game away from capturing a second professional title. And again, let's pull up that Yang graphic. Super producer Daniel Westoff. Look at what the 18-year-old has done over the course of this 22 season, excuse me. 30-6 overall is Young. Entered the week 757 with her success. Will now be into the top 750 for the first time in her career. 35 matches she's played since the start of May now. No doubt we'll see her in week 6. After a 6-week pocket like that, BK, 2 weeks off? 3 weeks off? Maybe you take a month to go recuperate? What do you think the schedule looks like for her after this sort of run?
I think she's earned herself a couple of weeks off. It's a fine line. You have to be careful not to take too many weeks off. You don't want to slow that momentum down. Definitely let the body calm down, recover, work through any kind of aches and pains that may have been affecting her throughout this stretch. And then it's right back to work, building on that momentum she's earned.
That's how good Jones has had to be to win points on serve. 15 love for her at the start. Yeah, that, I mean, again, certainly, again, a nice dinner, meal of choice. Enjoy yourself a week off. When pro players say week off, what does that mean? I know that's a silly question, but does that mean, like, I'm not touching a treadmill, I'm not going on the exercise bike at all, I'm literally sitting on a couch and relaxing? Or does week off just mean maybe no tennis for that week?
I think it means different
strokes for different folks.
But generally, it's a week off of tennis. It's actually counterproductive to just sit on the couch. We're so used to going, and we're so physical and working out, tennis in the gym all the time, that actually completely shutting down and not doing anything physical is often a lot worse on the body, harder to restart again when you do get back on the court. So really important to, it can be fun. You can get out and move, do other activities that maybe you don't do during a training block, but just staying active, staying up, keeping that body fresh. We call it active recovery.
I like that. So like hiking in the Southern California area, you'll maybe do that on the week off, which you'd skip during the challenge or training.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, especially with the weather out here, hiking, going to the beach, any beach activities. Some guys like to get out there on the golf course, go to the gym a little bit, and just keep some of that strength. So there's plenty of things to do.
Big winner, a couple of big backhands from Young. 30 love becomes 30 all. I'd say you golf, but I'm pretty sure the pros golf during the events anyways. That's not an off week. That's every week.
Some more than others, yes.
Yes.
Depends on the tournament, too.
Yeah. I don't know. Where'd they play the U.S. Open this year? That course in Boston? Whichever one it was.
Yeah, in Brookline. Oh, during the tournament. During the tennis tournament.
No, during the the U.S. Open, like golf.
Oh, yeah.
Brookline or whatever it was. I'm pretty sure if you asked, some players, hey, you can go, Marty Fish in his prime, like go play around in Brooklyn on the off day, come back for the U.S. Open the next day. He'd be like, I'm in. I'll take the train. As we see, by the way,
Well,
match point.
Not at a slam.
Yeah. Match point fought off from Yang. Yeah, that's probably fair. Laver Cup, I might golf the day of the match. Yeah.
Depends on how much pressure you're feeling from your team.
Yeah. Team Europe doesn't lose, so.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Yeah. Serve called good? No, serve called long. So we'll try that second serve coming up. Sent long. Indeed it was. No game point chance here for Mckenna Jones. You thought we were going to get out of this without another, at least 3 deuces? Come on now. Have you been paying attention?
Have not been watching the Mckenna Jones serve. Just the continued ability to stay tough in these games. Yes, she hasn't been able to build the leads we saw earlier in the week, but continuing to fight.
Yeah, just every 4th, 5th shot, Young's going to do something like that. Disrupts the rhythm of an athlete like Mckenna Jones. I mean, there's no doubt this match has been on the racket of Young from the start. Jones has done an excellent job of just stretching points, elevating balls into that body on the serve has been one of her adjustments here in set 2, and it's worked to some extent. She now has a game point chance to extend our match. At least ask the question of Young and force her to serve it out. I might take her grunt moving forward. I just feel like that'd be a great addition to my game. A little intimidation there. How can you not hit the ball in an intimidating fashion after that?
It's vocal.
It's vocal. It's a good way of putting it. It's a visceral experience. No way. Well, don't forget, Yao Young won the doubles title yesterday here at the Fountain Valley Open. As scripted, a little mid-court no man's land on the rise, forehand lob over the net. Match point 2. Backhand goes long. Back to deuce. Ball sails long off the racket of Mckenna Jones. Match point number 3. Oh, it dropped good. Oh, Mckenna Jones using every inch available to her on the court. Find the lines, have some fun. Ball was tight, BK, but ultimately called good. So we're back to deuce.
Oh, the match was on her racket with that overhead.
Young again. We go back to deuce. 4 match points have come. 4 match points have gone. All right. You're getting the Ya Young experience in the nutshell. Flashes of brilliance. Flashes that'll make you rip your hair out for those in the Young camp, but ultimately, again, credit to Mckenna Jones, who's just navigated it all, kept her head down. Point after point, sticking around, and now game point chance to extend this match. Yeah, but then Young does that. Blistering forehand return. Great depth out of her corners. Jones just feels pressure to have to redirect that ball, because if you don't, Young's feet are set and you're in trouble anyways. Another deuce point coming up. Woo.
Excellent forehand change there. You can see when Jones is able to get on the offense, push Young around. Jones had her feet set there in a screamer of a winner. And just unable to close these games out. She's done a great job working her way back into this match. But just still that inability to finish off games on her own serve.
Game point coming up once again.
Oh. Jones has got to be thinking, just what do I need to do to hold serve?
How can I get a free point?
Said another great change up the line with the forehand, and the soft net just gives the little dribbler.
Alrighty. Let's try this again. Match point. Ya Young. It's her 5th one. There it is. It took her 9 deuces, 5 match points in the final game. But 18-year-old Ya Young, a crowning moment for her. Now 31-6 overall on the year, and she earns her 2nd ITF Pro Circuit title of the season. 6-2, 6-2, a match far closer than that scoreboard indicates. Bradley Klon, your reaction to the 18-year-old's title?
Yeah, I think Young did a phenomenal job with that start. She came out absolutely blitzing the ball, got off to that early 4-0 lead before Jones could even really get herself into the match and recognize what was going on. I thought Mckenna Jones did a really nice job changing it up, finding ways to get in the points and extend rallies. Once she was able to do that, she started making inroads, especially on the Young serve, but just that inability to hold serve gave Young a lot of freedom to keep going after her shots, and you could see the power display from her.
No, I mean, Ya Young was fantastic. Just at so many. Now, was it always strung together consecutively? Absolutely not. But you see the pockets of brilliance from the 18-year-old, the power tennis she's capable of playing, the different speeds she's capable of producing. On the flip side for Mckenna Jones, 2nd pro final for her. She'll be in the top 900 at least at the end of this SoCal Pro Circuit. And though she wasn't able to get over the finish line, it feels like in terms of film for her to use moving forward, I mean, as you progress up the rankings, this is the sort of player you're going to see, right? That sort of firepower, players like Young, valuable experience certainly for Jones.
Certainly, there's a lot for her to build on. She came through the qualifying. She's had a great run through this SoCal circuit. Let's not forget, playing those extra 2 matches has an effect on the body that's that's 2 matches that Yang didn't have to play. Jones moved through the draw nicely, but you don't know if maybe that had played a factor in, but she's into the main draw next week. She gets another opportunity in Lakewood to get right back at it and build on these lessons that she's learned.
Yeah, no, again, I thought it was a great fight today from Mckenna Jones, but in the end, 18-year-old Yang, a player to watch, one of the rising stars, certainly at the ITF level on the WTA Tour. But with that said, week 5 in the books, and we talk about it all the time. This SoCal Pro Circuit providing opportunities for those aspiring players with, whether it be at the junior level, whether it be the young pros, whether it be those current college players trying to get some pro opportunities. And, to have a 19 and 18-year-old win the Pro Circuit singles titles on week 5, that's what this USTA Pro Circuit is all about. So with all of that said, that'll do it for our coverage of week number 5. A massive thank you to you, Bradley Klein. Always helps to have a top 100 player's eyes to, and expertise to utilize throughout the course of these broadcasts. Certainly made it a better experience for everyone viewing at home. Of course, a massive shout out to all the sponsors, whether it be the Klieg's, the Krables, Wilson, ITF, USTA, SoCal Tennis Foundation, the Bryan brothers, everyone who has supported these events and helped made them possible. And then, of course, a shout out to our super producer, Daniel Westoff, who makes all of our coverage possible here at Cracked Racquets. With that said, for the fantastic Bradley Klein, our super producer, Daniel Westoff, and all of us here covering the 2022 SoCal Pro Circuit, I am Alex Gruskin. That'll do it for this week's coverage, but we'll see you all next Saturday. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.